feel like this is way too bright. No. All right, so I just got back from a 3-day backpacking trip in Big Bend National Park. Part of this next year, the plan is to go on a ton of different backpacking trips. But this one was hard. It's probably the hardest thing that I've ever done in my entire life. And there's no exaggeration there. The second day was like 15 miles. It was hot, a bunch of uphills, downhills, in the total desert. I didn't see a single person the second day. It's kind of scary. I saw a mountain lion on my last day, which was cool, but also freaked me out because the first night, all I could think about was mountain lions. But I'm not here to tell you guys about that specifically. There'll be a video coming out on the main channel at the end of the month about the trip. But more than anything, I just felt pulled to create this video because this trip was almost like a reset. I feel like when you're stripped down to your bones, when you're on the trail, when you're on a backpacking trip, when you barely have enough food or water, not even toilet paper. I totally ended up not packing enough toilet paper. I bought wipes, but they ended up being like antiseptic wipes, so like that didn't work out. I didn't even count how much food I had before I left. I just assumed I'd have enough. I don't know. It's whatever. It worked out. Delusional optimism, right? But there's something that happens when you go on trips like this where you're just forced to face yourself in a very unique way. When you go, walking 12 hours a day through the heat with like 50 pounds on your back, it carries you into a different place than you're used to being. But this trip, more than anything, was just a great reminder of why I do this and why I love getting outdoors and what the benefit to it really is. Around the second day, I was walking on the most difficult part of the trail. It's called the Dodson Trail. It's basically like the back half of Big Bend National Park. That's the part where a lot of people get lost and that sort of thing. And it was so difficult. I swear I saw God multiple times, like just walking uphill with 50 pounds on my back, got a gallon of water, not a single soul in sight. You couldn't hear. It's weird because when you go to places like this, the amount of silence is unnerving because I don't know, you don't realize this, but in your everyday life, usually you're used to like cars going by or like white noise or all this different stuff. But in the park, there was nothing. And that was calming, but also kind of scary. And so I walk like maybe 7 miles on this path that goes uphill, downhill. It's really difficult. I'm struggling a lot. I had to ration my food, so I'm on my second to last packet of freeze-dried food. I need to save my next one for the next day, of course. But I get through it. It's 7 miles, get through it. It's very difficult, but we make it. And it starts going downhill from there. There's still like maybe 6-7 miles left that I have to walk. But it starts going downhill. And in that moment, I don't know what it was. I think there's a sense of euphoria or just adrenaline and happiness that washes over you because you now realize that you're going downhill, not uphill. It's the smallest thing, but you learn to appreciate it. And so I just got hit with this incredible, almost like high, this feeling of happiness as I started heading downhill. And I have this all recorded. You'll see it in the video. But I began in my mind starting to list off things that I just appreciate. I know it sounds corny, but for some reason I was super hyper fixated during this entire trip on vanilla lattes. I don't know why, I don't know what it was. I really wanted a warm vanilla latte, and it's all I could think about, all I kept thinking about through my mind. And so I started there. I appreciate vanilla lattes. I appreciate this. I appreciate that. There's a funny thing that I think a lot of people talk about, which is being more grateful. And I say it's funny because I've tried it, all these different methods of how to be more grateful. Like, wake up and write down 10 things you're grateful for. Do this. And you hear all these like Sigma male grind set people like talking about it. There's this clip of Gary Vaynerchuk, the entrepreneur bro. And he's like talking at a conference, and you guys have probably seen this clip, but he's like, yeah, every day when I wake up in the shower, I just curl up in the corner and I imagine my family getting shot in the face. And that allows me to carry immense gratitude for life. And I don't know, maybe it works for him. I don't want to hate, but that's kind of crazy, but maybe it works for him, right? But it was in that moment while I was heading downhill, I was on the trail, haven't showered in a few days, absolutely sore, dead, tired, exhausted, hungry, that I began to feel extreme gratitude towards life and started naming off these things I appreciated. And I don't know, I think for me it's always been hard to like hear something and have that impact how I feel or how I see the world. Every once in a while I'll hear something from my therapist or hear something from a podcast or a book that kind of, that like was, you feel the light bulb going off. I'm sure you've had these experiences as well. But that's really difficult to get to. And with this whole gratitude thing, I feel like I've tried to hear what people have said about being more grateful and using gratitude to combat anxiety and all this different stuff, but it's just never worked for me. It's never clicked. Like, hearing what someone says has never translated to the feeling of gratitude. But it was on that second day, the second night on the Big Bend, on the Outer Mountain Loop, that I felt this immense gratitude. I felt it. And for the first time in so long, I felt this crazy level of gratitude that just washed over. And it carried throughout basically the entire trip. Realizing that all these things I've been anxious about and being a creator and all this stuff is just dumb. Like, it's dumb. I mean, not to diminish my own feelings in that way, but it is kind of like dumb. Being a creative is an incredible job and opportunity. And yeah, I'd realized that a lot of the anxieties I was feeling were just irrelevant because I just hadn't been able to tap into this level of gratitude before. And the reason why I want to make this video is because I feel like there might be other people out there. I don't know if I'm the exception here, but writing down things I'm grateful for in the morning, you know, doing all these different gratitude exercises, gratitude journaling, meditation, it's never really worked for me. It's never really clicked for me because that's never been able to be translated into the feeling. But actually physically doing something physically demanding that's hard, overcoming something like hiking on this trail and being stripped to your most vulnerable self, I think did it for me. And I haven't felt that level of gratitude in a while. That's just to say that maybe sometimes it's better to do something difficult, like go on a backpacking trip or try to run a half marathon, to be able to access that level of gratitude, because listening to someone talk about something on a podcast or reading a book might not go as far. It's to lean into that discomfort of doing something physically demanding that you don't think you can accomplish, that I think can lend to the most gratitude and most appreciation for yourself and what you can accomplish. But I don't know, that's just some thoughts, because it never had clicked for me that hard. But something happened that second night on the trail. And it was a good reminder of why I love getting outdoors, why I promote getting people on the trail, going camping, all this stuff. It's because there are just certain elements in life that you can learn to appreciate more by taking a trip like that. And there are just certain things and thought loops that you might be stuck in that can be broken out of based on just putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation and pushing yourself a bit. And I came back from that trip like feeling cleansed almost. It was like doing what do people do, the juice cleanse? It's like fasting for 3-4 days. It's like removing yourself from anything. The hardest thing is feeling yourself slowly slide back into routine and the grips of the world, you know, after you go on a trip, eating your first, you know, processed foods or appreciating a little less and less. But I think every once in a while it's important to do something that resets yourself. And for me, that was this backpacking trip and what I hope to do in the future. And so, yeah, the full video will be on the main channel at the end of the month, but just want to share these thoughts if they resonated. Yeah. Go outside more.